Battalion Chief Springer, who will say our invocation and our pledge. Thank you, Chief.
Let us pray. Dear God, we just first want to thank you for blessing us with another day. We thank you for the opportunity to come together this evening, and we just pray for all of the members of our city government, all of our council members and our mayor, as they make decisions for the citizens of this city. We just thank you for each of them and their service during their time here. God, we just want to ask you for those that are sick right now, those that need your healing, and we just ask that you please watch over them and help them through this time. We always ask that you go with us throughout this evening and keep us safe. For this we ask in your Son's name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Roll call, please.
Bibby.
Present.
Ard.
Aye.
Jackson. Hill.
Aye.
Kirby.
And let's not forget our friends in Louisiana here.
Okay. Agenda items will be acted upon if they meet the guidelines necessary to perform essential minimum functions of the governmental body of a matter of necessity to respond to COVID-19. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Ard, and second by Mr. Kirby. Roll call, please.
Bibby.
Aye.
Ard.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye.
Kirby.
Aye.
Vote of 4-0 to go forward. Resolutions for this evening. Resolution 20256, acceptance of build grant. Alan or Herman?
Well,
Or Suzanne?
Actually, I think Carl was supposed to speak on this because he
Well-
was working closely with Dana.
Carl, are you on the line?
I am.
Okay.
I can supplement, but I want them to get the.
All right. Go ahead, Carl.
All right, thank you. This is Carl Pruitt, city engineer. This is our bill grant agreement with FHWA. Basically, this puts in place the motions to get the money authorized so we can begin advertising and bidding and building this project. So I would recommend approving this as soon as we can, so we'll meet our deadlines, and we've been at this for about a little over 2 years now, so it's a good point to be at.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Mr. Ard, and second by Mr. Kirby. Discussion.
Maybe, I want to share, as of Friday, we've got the last parcel of Friday. So now we have access to all the parcels,
Thank you.
which is helpful. It's always a good time to do that.
Thank you, Herman. I want to take this opportunity to tell Carl, thank you, because you're the one that found this grant in the first place. I'd like to say thank you to Dana Pig, who's not with us anymore. She's the one that actually wrote this with your help, Carl. So thank you. Without you and Dana, we would not be here today, and everyone else in the grant department. So thank you for that, Carl.
You're welcome, and yes, Dana was very instrumental in putting together a wonderful grant that helped us land this.
And let's not forget Mr. Wally Terry. I'm not sure if Wally's watching, but without Wally, we couldn't have done this either. So thank you, Wally, for out there. Any other discussion?
I'm just making you guys aware I'm on.
Oh, Billy, you're on?
Yes.
Very good. Glad you're here, sir. Do you have any questions about the bill grant?
I do not.
Okay. Christie?
No, ma'am.
All right. Roll call.
Bibby.
Aye.
Ard.
Aye.
Jackson.
Aye.
Hill.
Aye.
Kirby.
Aye.
Resolution 20256 is approved with a vote of 5-0.
Thank
Fire Director updates. Rochelle, I guess you're on the phone.
Yes.
Okay.
Just need some guidance from the council on which of the two candidates you would like us to go forward with.
Do you have a recommendation from council?
I thought that both candidates were extremely capable, and I think that we're going to be okay with either one of the candidates. My personal preference is that I'm going to nominate Tracy Thornton at this particular point.
Motion by Mr. Jackson,
Second.
second by Mr. Kirby. Discussion.
This being, of course, this would be authorizing HR director to negotiate a condition, so you're making a conditional offer. In order for them to go, for her to go forward, you have to give her that authority.
Very similar to what we did with
Very-
Mr. Watkins.
Same
and
process, I'm
DYS.
just making sure.
All righty.
And let me add to what Mr. Jackson said. I feel very similar. I think Jason been with the department a long time, and I hope his opportunity, whether it be here or someplace else, happens soon.
Ms. Hill, Mr. Jackson, you ready to go? Ms. Hill, do you have anything?
Nothing more than just echoing what those other two gentlemen have said.
And I'd just like to say the same thing. I think that I know we've taken a while to get this far for naming a fire chief, but I'm so glad that we waited, and we waited for the Lord to guide us, and we have internal candidates. I think we have two outstanding candidates that are from Decatur, that are homegrown and know this department. So I'm proud of both of them, and I support either, but we'll take a vote now. So roll call.
Bibby,
Aye.
Art,
Aye.
Jackson,
Aye.
Hill,
Aye.
Kirby.
Aye.
Fire Director update from Mr. Tracy Thornton to be the next fire chief of the city of Decatur.
Offer.
Offer.
Oh, excuse me, offer, sorry. If you don't take it, we'll come get you, Tracy. All right, Rochelle, do you have any update on the offer to Mr. Watkins?
Yes, ma'am, I do. I'm pleased to let everyone know. I think everyone knows that he did accept our offer. We have an anticipated start date of September the 21st, which coincides with the pay period, and we're finishing up the final elements of our pre-employment process, background screening and all those pieces, and I will, Ms. Bibby, let you know as soon as that's done so that a called meeting or however that process works to do the formal appointment by resolution. So I would anticipate we would have this all wrapped up by Wednesday this week in terms of all of our documents.
Thank you, Rochelle. Thank you to the HR Department and Personnel Board as well. Anything else from council? Do I have a motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Yes.
right.
If anybody else.
My quote for today for this work session is, "The funny thing about firemen is, night or day, they are always firemen." So monthly approval of bills, August 2020. We've got a little feedback from someone.
Little?
Thank you. Any questions on August 2020 monthly bills? Mr. Jackson, Ms. Hill?
None.
No, I don't have anything.
Okay, we're going into weed abatements now. Would you like me to read them all or just the addresses?
I'm good with the addresses.
I've read through them, I'm good with them as well.
Okay, so I will read each of the addresses. Mr. Lee, I thought I saw you coming in.
I'm on,
Okay.
I'm here.
Is there anything that you need to tell us before I read the addresses, sir?
No, ma'am, just business as usual.
Okay. We have 1405 15th Avenue. That does not have a southeast, southwest.
Most of them are D2.
Okay, they also have southeast.
Yeah.
18 and a half Avenue Southeast, 815 19th Avenue Southeast, 810 White Street Southeast, 1810 White Street, 1808 White Street Southeast, 917 Clearview Street, 2406 McNair Street Southwest. That is all the weed abatements I have. Public hearings. Resolution 2196, authorize abatement of unsafe conditions at 1405 15th Avenue Southeast. Mr. Lee.
Yes, ma'am. That property was condemned on February the 11th of this year. Nothing has been done to change the condition of the property. The owner of the property is in the Morgan County Jail without bond, and it doesn't appear that there's anybody else to take care of it. And so next week, we'll ask the council to authorize the demolition. And it is in a condition to be a public nuisance.
There's no lien hold?
It doesn't appear to be, that we've found so far.
David, is that related to item A on the weed abatements?
I think it's the same property, Mr. Kirby.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
No.
Mr. Jackson?
No, I don't have any.
Resolution 2197, authorize abatement of unsafe conditions located at 2017 Morgan Avenue. Mr. Lee?
Yes, ma'am, that one was condemned back on April the 4th of 2019. It belongs to Mark Mobies. He permitted the repairs and had no inspections. It doesn't appear to us that the conditions have changed at all. We've done everything that we know to do to move this thing forward and have not had any success. And there is a lien holder, and they've been advised as well. And we'll ask the council next week to authorize the demolition of that property as well.
David, no actual response from the owner?
We have talked to the owner. For some reason, we've been dealing with multiple properties for a number of years owned by this individual. And if things happen, it happens slowly, and at times, some of them have been sold to someone else, I guess, to get out from under it. And, we've met, talked. I don't know what the underlying issues are, but there seems to be a pattern here, and this is the first one that we've moved to demolish, but I think this is the right one for that.
All right, thank you, David.
David, did you say April of 19?
Yes, sir.
I believe it's long enough.
Mr. Lee, I will ask, I try to go by all of these and look myself, and I'll say on Morgan Avenue, I went toward the retirement home down there. There were several that looked like they were there was no one around, broken windows, roofs caving in. Have y'all looked at all of those? Is that the same property owner that owns those?
I don't know that it's the same owner that owns those. We've got some things going on Morgan over there. We'll make sure that we've got all of our bases covered, but I'm pretty sure that we do.
Okay, very good. I just noticed there were several that looked really bad.
Yes, ma'am, this would be one of them. We think the worst one.
Yes, sir, it was not good. Any other questions or comments? Ms. Hill, Mr. Jackson?
No, ma'am.
Ordinance number 24413, rezoning request number 1354-20, approximately 40.9 acres located north of Dalfett Street Southwest and west of 14th Avenue Southwest from R2 to R3. Matt? Anybody from planning? Mr. Jackson, would you like to speak on it? I know that's in your district.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Hello?
Okay.
Is that not that we were taking off and doing on the 21st with contingency property?
It was tabled on the August the 3rd.
Matt, is that you on the line? Well, Mr. Jackson.
This is the one that we met with the
Yes,
with
sir.
the residents on.
Yes, sir. I'm just waiting for someone from planning to give us an explanation.
Yeah.
Anyone from planning on the line?
Well, I'll just explain it if they're not there. What we did was, you and I met with the residents over there, and they had a concern about the R2 to R3, and what the owner of the property has done is he's agreed to extend property that was really their concern, the R4, and change that from R4 to R3 as well. And Planning Department is going to have a special call meeting on September the 9th to deal with the contingency component. And once that's done, both of those, the R4 that's not on the agenda for next week and this one that we're dealing with now will be on the agenda for the 21st. And so that's that's how Planning and Kent Lawrence and the board had intended, suggested that we do it.
Yes, sir.
Well, there's one, this is Herman, there's one adjustment. The one that's going to be heard next week cannot be heard because you have to publish it and give notice of that, and it takes 22 days, so it would not be on the 21st. The other one could, but that one will have to wait until we can get it published, and that's, I just need to share that because I didn't want somebody to expect it to both be there.
How many days did you say
Well, we
this was
did.
published?
Well, you have to publish it. Once y'all introduce it, then it's published once, and then it's published a week later, and each of those have to be at least 15 days prior to the date of your hearing. So that's why it takes at least 22 days.
Okay, well, Kent was thinking that, okay, and you're right, but Kent was thinking that they could have the special call meeting for Planning on the 9th, and that was why he was trying to rush it. He was trying to meet the date requirement. Okay, then we're going to do these together, Herman. We're going to do this.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I would suggest then that you, set them together. That would be in October.
Okay.
And
then
Mr.
I'll call-
Jackson, I totally agree with you. I think they need to be done together. You and I did
Yeah.
go to that meeting. I appreciate you meeting with the landowner and making that happen for those residents. So, yeah, I think they need to be passed together.
And Herman, Mr. Plunk was familiar with you. You do know Mr. Plunk as well, correct?
Yeah, Mr. Plunk is an attorney. I've known him for many years, yes,
Yeah, he said he had known you for quite some time. So it wouldn't bother me at all if you reached out to him or if you were able to reach out to him and just make sure that we were in line with what was okay with him, because he was in full agreement, but it wouldn't bother me at all if you kind of reached out to him since you're familiar with them, and just kind of see where, just kind of explain where we're headed.
Yeah, we'll do that. I'll get with planning and make sure, that I've got the time frame that they're anticipating. But yes, I'll be happy to do that. It's a good idea.
Okay, I think, as well, they've got a special call meeting for next, well, I guess the 9th at 4:30, and, so I guess, do we need to still move forward with that?
Yes, that will, it won't hurt us, from a scheduling standpoint. It may help us. So yes,
Okay, sounds
that would be fine. Yeah, that way we can do that.
Work session where they need someone from planning.
Okay, well, we're gonna, Mr. Jackson, if it's okay with you, we will just, table this until we get back from planning on doing these 70 acres together. Is that okay with you?
I'm good. I'm perfect with that. I think that's what we really have to do.
And I concur.
Yeah,
I think so too.
well, and we'll leave that, as far as I'm concerned, we can leave the special call planning commission meeting just like it is. Like I said, it could help us, it won't hurt us.
Okay?
Sounds good. I appreciate that.
We'll
Thanks.
take ordinance number 204413 off until we can get it on and get it advertised. Yes, ma'am. Ordinance
Hey,
number 20.
this is Cal. Let me add one thing. Thank y'all, Councilman Jackson, Harmon, everyone for what you just did to explain this. And I'll make sure that someone from planning is on the call in the future. I just got in touch with Matthew and he had overlooked it.
Well, I appreciate that too. They were actually at the meeting with us, Mayor. They met with the residents and they were aware that we were going to meet with Mr. Plunk. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, they've spoken with Mr. Plunk. So you can follow up with that, but I think they're aware of everything that we're talking about.
Very good. Thank you.
Ordinance
Thank you.
number 204420, rezoning request 135620, approve a tract of land approximately 1.46 acres, more or less located at the west side of Highway 31, south R1 to R2, B2, excuse me.
Yeah, that part I know there's no changes to that.
Any questions from council? Ordinance number 204422, rezoning request 1360-20, approve a tract of land approximately 75.23 acres, more or less located south of Bibb Garrett Road, west of I-65, from AG2 to M1.
Yeah, this is Herman again. That, to the best of my knowledge, there's been no change. That was introduced, of course, by y'all earlier, so it's the same rezoning that we had before.
Herman, is this the rezoning that we rezoned the 20 acres first?
Yeah, it's adjoining property to that, yes, it sure is.
So now we're adding the 20, I'm assuming 25 to the 75, is that correct, to make it 100 acres?
I'm not, well, it's an additional 75 acres, yeah, it's right there together, it's my understanding.
Is M1
Yes, sir.
what the original 20 that we have, I'm going to say it was a year or so ago that we did that, is M1 the same that 20 is zoned?
I think that's warehouse, isn't it, Herman?
That's my best information. Chip is
That's what
also,
they were talking about.
my understanding, this is consistent with what the other property's been zoned. They're compatible. So yes, the answer is yes. Light industry.
Thank you.
Any questions? Ordinance number 204423, pre-zoning request 136120, approve pre-zoning a tract of land containing 1.67 acres, more or less, located at east of Beltline Road Southwest and south of Highway 20 to M1A. Herman, do you have any information on this one?
Well, that's no change to that. Is that the service station?
The racetrack, yes, sir, I'm assuming that's what it is.
Yeah, that's what it is. I believe that's the racetrack. Yes.
Okay, thank you very much. Resolution
Thank you.
2241, approve MUB expenditure of $773,206 for WWTP Parkson Headworks screen replacements. Do we have someone online or someone here, Ms. Terry?
Yes, Miss Bibby, this is Tom Cleveland, Decatur Utilities.
Hey, Tom, how are you?
Yes, I'm good. How are you?
Good, go ahead.
This is an expenditure to replace 2 Parkson Headworks screens at the wastewater treatment plant. The existing screens were installed in 1994 and they're currently 26 years old. And and beyond their useful life. What these screens do is they provide initial and crucial first step treatment by removing floatable material, heavy solids, and debris entering the influent pump station at the plant. This helps keep that stuff from getting downstream into some of our other equipment and damaging it. And this project is in our current wastewater budget, and we recommend replacing these screens.
Any questions? Ms. Hill, Mr. Jackson.
No.
I don't have any.
Resolution 2242, declare Transcend Tactical a sole source provider for a robot for the police department.
Yes, ma'am. That's Charles.
Charles?
The police department, yes, ma'am. The police department requested this. They collected information on it. This particular robot has the ability to spray a chemical dispersant, and it's got at least 2 patents on it that no one else can use.
What kind of chemicals, can you tell us?
I just assumed tear gas.
Okay. Chief, are you on the line?
Yes, I am.
Can you tell us a little bit more about your robot?
Yeah, Captain Jones is on the line. He should be able to tell you a little bit more about it. Most of the time it's going to be, oh, is he there? Okay. Mainly it's going to be used in conjunction with our SWAT team for going into homes and things like that, where they have to go up a stairway if someone is stuck in a house, and it can actually open the doors up and go into a home that someone is already in the neighborhood, and on police officers where it's too dangerous to send a person in, and it can disperse chemical agents inside the home of a bad guy who shoots at us.
All right, Captain.
Yes, ma'am. The chief pretty much nailed it.
Okay, very good.
What he said?
Yes, sir, what he said.
Any questions from council? Sorry, you had to walk away?
That's fine.
Resolution 2240, award bid number 20-022 for small stream litter debris and trash collection devices and related services to Osprey Initiative LLC. Charles?
Yes, ma'am. We only had one response on this bid, and we recommend it work to Osprey.
This will be our litter getters that we have used the last year. Any questions from council?
I did want to comment that I've looked at the numbers on that. I'm not overly impressed with the numbers per pound collected and that kind of thing. Unfortunately, right now, it's the only option. So until we get more serious about the litter and try to do something about keeping some of it from getting to the ground, I'll be okay with this goes through. I just think we need to get more serious than this long-term, because there's tons getting past this.
Mr. Jackson, Ms. Hill?
No comment.
I don't have anything. Thanks.
Mr. Arden, anything? Resolution 2244, award bid number 20021 for, wow, somebody help me with that, plant mix to Reed Construction. Go ahead, Mr. Booth, you go ahead and say that.
It's about 2 minutes plant mix.
There you go.
Yeah. And we got 2 responses on this, with Reed Contracting being the lowest, about $2,785,000 is change. That's based on standard quantities. Those quantities could change. This is the plant mix that's installed, so it's not just hot plant mix that we would use to pave. This would be where they would go out and pave a section of a road for us, include striping and such as that.
Okay, any questions from council? Mr. Jackson, Ms. Hill?
No.
No.
Thank you, Charles. Resolution 2245, award bid number 20-0220 to replace the roof on the library to Alabama Roofing and Sheet Metal Company. Mr. Booth?
Yes, ma'am. We got 8 responses on this bid. We had expected from talking to one of our industry advisors, about a $200,000 budget, but the lowest bidder came in at $118,575. I spoke with that representative, and this vendor has used their materials before, and he feels like they're very worthy.
That's good to hear, because looking at the list of bidders, that was a low one.
Yes, ma'am.
Is this gonna be, Charles,
Comparison.
essentially the rubberized roof they have now currently on there?
Yes, ma'am, a membrane.
Okay, so
It's like what we got on City Hall nowadays.
are they going to take it off and put a new one on, or are they going to lay that one on top of the existing one?
I believe they're gonna, well, we had pricing in there for them to repair wet spots and to redo some of the fascia and then the sheet metal that goes around the cap.
And what was the warranty issue on this?
I believe it's a 10-year warranty on the materials.
All right, thank you.
Just don't want, if you put too many roofs on top of that, it's gonna get heavy in spots, and that may tend to cause a problem later on down the road. We just need to make sure we keep an eye on that.
Right.
Any other questions?
Jay?
Yes.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just wanted to say planning's on the phone. I'm sorry I'm late.
Hey, Matt, no worries, no worries.
Charles,
Yeah.
thanks.
All right, if anyone needs to ask a question.
We are good right now, thank you, Matt.
Yes, ma'am, thank you.
Any questions, Mrs. Hill, Mr. Jackson?
No.
All right, man.
Charles, did they give us a timeline?
No, it didn't. But we think that they're ready to go as soon as they get all the materials together.
Thank you.
And they would try to start fairly as quickly as they could just because of the weather.
If you could let us know when they start, that'd be wonderful, thank you.
Sure, I will.
Resolution 20246, appropriate 25% of the simplified seller's use tax to Decatur City School System. Any questions?
So this just states that we're transferring those funds to them, but in our budget meeting, we discussed the allocations or the earmarks. So is that something that will be separate?
It will be?
Take care of it. This will satisfy your requirement that you wanted this taken care of. We've talked to the school, we're okay, we'll get it looked at.
Okay, Christie, I'm not sure if you could hear John. We will need to.
I couldn't.
We need to do this first. I know he has spoken with Mandy today, their new CFO, and then we will come in and do those earmarks once this is complete.
Okay.
Any other questions, Mr. Jackson? Resolution 20247, Crossings Funds Tax Collection Designation Exemptions.
Expiration.
Oh, sorry. Okay, there, expiration.
So the crossings designation.
Yeah, look,
Once, go ahead. Herman, do you want to go? Go ahead. John's explaining it. Go ahead.
Well, I'll listen to John and let's see how he does.
You can,
The crossing designation, by agreement, by resolution, ends on 30 September. So starting 1 October, those funds that were in that designation now become part of the regular sales tax, and it's distributed between us and the school, just like the regular sales tax.
I'll add to that, Herman, you may want to do that. In 2010, I believe, is when we went in together with the schools, and actually the city paid that bond off early, but the school system so graciously let us keep that 1 penny until this year, and when it would have originally been paid off, even though we paid it off early. So we are just fulfilling a promise that we made to the school system this year. Does that pretty much sum it up?
Yeah, y'all did very well. I appreciate it, yes. This was just so we have a record on the books of what occurred. So when we look back in a few years, we'll know that this is how we got to where we are. So, yeah, y'all did very well. Thank y'all.
I'm sure the school system certainly appreciates that too. Resolution 2248, approve Decatur Historic Preservation Commission policies. Caroline, is that you? Okay.
So before Karen left planning, one of the tasks I was given was to take a look at the Preservation Commission Rules of Procedure. I don't think they have been updated since the commission formed. So I sat down with the old procedural rules I cross-referenced them with what other commissions across the country were doing in terms of how things were laid out. And then I also sent drafts through legal to make sure that they worked with our current ordinance as well. So this is the finished project. The commission has reviewed and approved. It addresses some things like contacting property owners and working with the building department, which now we can do via email, but when the original guidelines were written, email didn't exist. And then it also addresses things that staff now has the ability to do that have been outlined in Decatur's one plan in terms of fast-tracking COAs and moving through the process. So I think that is it, unless you have questions.
Anyone have questions?
I mean,
Caroline, thank you. I know that was
No.
a tough job to go back so many years and look at bringing them up to date. And
I did a lot of digging.
You're doing a fabulous job, and we appreciate what you're doing.
Okay.
Resolution 2249 accepts sale of 2009 Pierce aerial ladder truck to Danville Volunteer Fire Department. Staying close to home, I guess.
Yes, this is to approve the purchase of, our sale of the Pierce ladder truck to Danville Fire Department, Volunteer Fire Department, and Chief Putman, Chief Thornton did an excellent job of communicating with Danville Fire Chief Vest. And we also have an attached letter, if you've had a chance to read over it, but they were able to meet and they voted and came to the conclusion of $225,000, which is the price that we set. And they are willing to do that, and they're willing to get their financing from Bank Independent in Hartselle.
Any questions? Thank you, Chiefs, for that, and thank you, Becky. I know you.
Thank you.
Glad it's staying close. Any questions? Resolution 22504995, approve engineering budget amendment for streets and resurfacing. I think we're putting that off or taking it off this evening. Resolution 2251, room in the old State Bank to be named after Mark and Gay Maloney. Hey, Judge, how are you?
Fine, thank you so much. May it please the council. Jason has asked me to very briefly speak to this. I'm going to take 1 minute and I'm going to cut it in half. That's okay with y'all.
Yes, sir.
I guess the obvious question is why I do this. Mark and Gay Maloney have just finished their one-year term of office as president of Rotary International and also the First Lady of Rotary International. In my personal opinion, no Decatur resident has ever been elected to a higher office than this. The president of Rotary International is an international ambassador for peace, goodwill, service to humanity. There are about 1.2 million Rotarians worldwide, about 35,000 clubs in over 200 countries and geographic areas. In essence, these are the world's business, professional, and political leaders. So to have the president of that organization, a resident from this city, is just an honor beyond, frankly, belief. Rotary right now is working to eradicate polio, has just about done that worldwide, along with the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Rotary does a lot of peace and humanitarian and educational programs worldwide. Won't get into all those. So why dedicate a room to them? Well, first of all, I think it would recognize the wonderful accomplishment of this. This doesn't happen just by happen chance. It's a wonderful thing. But also the benefit to Decatur, I think, would be this. Quite simply, I think it bring in people from all over the world to come to our city to honor the legacy of the Maloneys and of their work of Rotary throughout the entire world. And also with the memorabilia that Mark and Gay would plan to put in this. It would be, in essence, an international museum inside our old State Bank. So for all those reasons, I recommend that you do this.
Thank you, Judge.
Thank
Any
you.
questions? Resolution 2252, remaining funds from the SOA Fields Bathrooms Building to be used for irrigation building renovation. Hey, Jason.
Judge is so good at that. And anybody Judge has been doing YouTube videos for all the different things around the city for the Old State Bank and stuff. Those had tons of likes, but anybody who hadn't seen that, hearing Judge do that on those topics is just unbelievable. We were blessed enough to have the Kiwanis help with the Old State, or the Old State Bank. Help with the SOA bathroom. And anybody who hadn't seen it, please go out there. It's a wonderful building. Really makes that whole field look much better. We had a little over $8,000 left. When we talked about what to do with that, there's a building right next to it that houses all of the irrigation stuff. And what the goal here is to make that building look like the other building, make the exterior, so it all kind of matches. So they are. Yeah.
Any questions?
Yes, this is Herman. We talked to the Kiwanis leadership, and they are certainly fine with this. In fact, they had the option to either accept the money back, and our choice, I'm the Kiwanis, I don't make a secret about that. I'm very proud of this building, I'm very proud of what we've done, and I'm proud that we're able to do some additional improvements. But the leadership, with Jason's guidance, we're certainly fine with the expenditure of the money for this particular project.
Thank you, Herman. Any questions from council? All right, Resolution 2253, approve short-term stay site plan at Point Mallard Campground. Stephanie?
Yes, ma'am. This is a resolution to request to create a short-term stay section at Point Mallard Campground. The short-term stay is defined as 1 to 14 days, and we would like to create that section in sites 1 through 52.
A section.
A section, yes, ma'am.
They will only be allowed to stay 14 days.
Yes, sir. In this proposed plan, Section A would become the short-term stay section. And again, that's from 1 day to 14 days being the maximum.
Is that all of Section A?
Yes, sir.
If that is full with short-term, if you have open spaces, someone could come in and short-term stay in Section D if you have space, right?
Correct, yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
So make sure we weren't keeping all short-term in Section A.
Stephanie, let me ask, and
Yes, sir.
it may take Jason, not sure. Haven't we tried to do this before? This is not the first attempt at this.
This is how it started. This is what it was years ago. Everything to do with
But I remember this coming up like 4 years ago, and there was a problem in some way getting past the step.
I think there's been discussion of a lot of things, but there was nothing that came before council. But this is how it was if you go back to mid-2000.
So however we started, wherever we've been, somehow or another, we've gotten further now. Now we've gotten further for some reason with it.
This is just another step.
Okay.
It has kind of evolved through time. It got to have these rules during that time, and this is just kind of another evolution.
Okay.
Jason, does this also limit long-term to 180 days?
Well, there's actually an ordinance in place. When we sent that information to legal department, one of the things that we found out was there is actually an ordinance that says you cannot be a camper on site for longer than 179 days.
Okay, we just have not been enforcing that, so obviously we've got to enforce that.
Yes, sir. And when we found out about it, we wrote that into the policy that.
Well, I remember reading something and I just didn't know if that was this. Okay, thank you.
Let's walk
Well,
back.
we've defined our short-term and our long-term. We've defined those.
Christie, we're going to first look at the floodplain, and we're going to discuss why that council is just being made aware of this, if you don't mind. Ordinance number 184319 is the actually ordinance number. It was passed on July 2nd, 2018. Tom, are you on the line? Tom Holt? Tom and Wally helps do our floodplain management with FEMA, and this is it. I can make copies for anyone if you'd like it. and actually council adopted that. I do have maps of the whole entire city that are in the floodplains.
Was that 2 years ago?
18, July 2nd, 2018. And in
I printed a
that-
copy of it as well.
And in that, I think Mr. Pope, who actually did the floodplains survey, called Chip to your attention several weeks ago that 180-day limit was in there.
Right.
And that is how it was brought to our attention, so,
Correct.
yes, that's how it all came about, the 180 days.
And basically, it's, that in the floodplain, if you've got two options, you can make it a permanent structure that comply with all the floodplain building requirements, which we don't want to do at the campground, because then it would turn into a trailer park. And the other option is not to let it stay beyond 179 days. It says 180 days or more is not allowed, so it would stop at 179.
And then let's talk about the consequences if we were to ignore that FEMA, which is a federal law that we approved in 2018, but unbeknownst to us until now. If we were to ignore that law, the federal government could then come in anyone in the city of Decatur whom has flood insurance. Doesn't matter if you're in Point Mallard Estates, you could be on the southwest side. If you have flood insurance, FEMA could come in and say your flood insurance is no good. You are personally liable for all of that because your city is not adhering to federal law. We certainly can't do that and put residents in jeopardy because actually all of Point Mallard Estates is in a flood zone. So I don't think we want to put those people in jeopardy of being liable, or the city, because then we would be liable on behalf of them for their damage. So that is why and how it come about. Christie, I'm sorry, back to you, your question.
No, I'm really just making a comment, just commending them for finally, like we have, defined short-term and long-term stay. And then, thanks to Tom and Chip for, finding out about the floodplain management and how that could affect us, like you just stated.
Thank you for y'all's hard work on that. Anything from council? And then I do have one person from the public wanting to speak. Mr. Jackson, Mr. R? No? Okay.
I don't have anything. No.
Before, Mr. Harwell, Tim Harwell?
Yes, ma'am, I'd rather not speak.
Okay, just to make sure. Was there anyone that did not get to sign up that would like to speak? I will say that I have personally received probably 20, and I can make those copies available if you'd like them from residents of Black Hall, Point Mallard Estates that are, and they have been certainly looking for this for years. I know Christie and I started a couple years ago with having meetings, and we've definitely heard from all those residents. So I'm glad to see this too, and I appreciate Jason and Stephanie, your hard work in getting this done. I know this is not a popular thing with some, and I hate it. Unfortunately, the federal law is something way beyond our control.
Ms. Beebe, to be
Yes.
clear, the complaints you were getting was complaining about the long-term stay?
Yes.
Okay.
Let's see, anything else from council on that? Resolution 2254, approval of rate increases regarding the Point Mallard Golf Course. Stephanie?
Yes, ma'am. This is a proposal to make us more comparable to other golf courses in our area. So you all have those prices and what we would propose to go to. And on a side note with this, we have not had a rate increase at the golf course since 2008.
Any questions?
Thank you for that.
Resolution?
No, I don't have any questions.
Okay. Resolution 2255, approval of rate increases regarding the Point Mallard Campground.
Again, this would put us more in line with the comparable campgrounds in the area, especially the ones that have the amenities kind of like we do. We look at these every year, and we feel like this would put us more in line to be more comparable to those other campgrounds.
Was it last year we went up? Or?
Well, by the time this, if this is adopted,
3 years.
It'll be 3 years, yes.
Any questions, comments?
Thank you.
Resolution 2257, approved purchase of 3 Chevrolet Tahoes for the fire department in the amount of $96,075 for state contracts, funding source, unassigned fund balance. Chief?
Yes, ma'am. That's the Tahoes we talked about to help with our staff vehicles. There's it's not right, the number on it, I don't know where it got off. But each of those Tahoes, they come in at $35,025, which would increase the price to $105.75 total for the Tahoes.
105.75?
Yep, $105.75.
Make that correction on there. And Chief, you had sent me, and I think I sent it out to their council members, the staff vehicles, the age of the vehicles and the mileage on those. Those were DU vehicles before, and I think we recycled some of those that they're getting a lot.
I think the only new one we had was what Chief Grandy, what he was driving. The rest of them were DU or bought used vehicles, and they're getting on up in the mileage. We also have an issue with not having enough vehicles to pull different trailers we have for different equipment that we
You have
have.
some apparatuses that need those
Right.
to pull in.
Right.
Any questions from council?
Thank you.
Resolution 20258, purchase of one Pac Mac loader truck. Ricky, that just sounds fun.
Yes, ma'am. Can you hear me?
You're really, get a little closer to your phone.
Or can you hear me now?
Not
Hello?
really well. Ricky?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, go ahead.
Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, it's just not really loud. That's okay, we'll listen hard.
Okay, I'll talk loud. How's that?
That sounds great.
Thank you for bringing this to the 8th agenda as opposed to the 21st agenda. That's the reason I'm not there, because I'd like to be with all of you when I'm explaining something. There should have been 2 of those Pac-Mac loader trucks on there, and since I just put them in today, that could have been a mistake on my part, but there should be 2 of those. The reason you've got 4, or should be 4 resolutions is this. One of those loader trucks is going to be funded out of the alley fee fund. One of the loader trucks is coming out of the unassigned general fund. One of those garbage trucks you see on there today is coming from a state contract, state of Alabama. The other truck is coming from the Sourcewell contract. When we put these trucks in the fleet, that's going to put us at about 75% efficiency as far as trucks go. 2 of those trucks are replacing 94 and 95 model trucks, so that tells you we're making a big dent in some of these trucks that are running across the street and having continuous breakdown. The other thing I want you to know is investing in these new trucks should cut our sublet repair and parts budgets back, because we're not having to spend near as much money keeping these trucks on the road. And that's the same for the following 20-259 and 20-260. I'll find out the other loader truck's not on there, and it's in the alley fee, and I don't see it on there yet.
And my question, Ricky, these 2, 2258, they are not coming from the landfill budget, they're coming from solid waste, correct?
That's absolutely right.
Okay,
That's correct.
Needs to be addressed. It says they're coming from the landfill department. They're not. They're coming from solid.
3 of those are unassigned fund balance, and one of those is from the alley fee.
Ricky, clear up for me, please. On the 20-258, 259, and 260, is each one of those 2 each?
Is each one of those what, Mr. Kirby?
2.
2, there should be 2 loader trucks, 1 garbage truck from the state contract and 1 garbage truck from the Sourcewell contract.
Very good. 2, 1, and 1. Thank you.
You have 2
Yes, sir.
Mac loaders. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And they are not coming from the landfill budget. Well, Hunter, are you on there? You probably were having a heart attack when you saw that landfill budget, didn't you?
Well, I'm not looking at the printout, and I'm sorry it says from the landfill. It should say from the Street and Environmental Services.
It should. I was just messing with Wanda.
What is the?
Ricky knows what he's doing.
Thank you, Wanda. I'm sorry. Joe?
What's the total value, John, that would be coming from the unassigned fund?
I believe the 3 from the unassigned are about 650.
Was that factored into what we talked about this morning?
No, that's one of the things we talked about this morning. We talked about that. We talked about the fire vehicles. We talked about pulling the paving out. And then looking at what's left.
So that's not in the current plan. So you had said that
the only things right now that we have not acted upon is the firehouse at, it's like 2.9 and change, we spent 17. We talked about Carrie Matthews this morning at 1.7. The garbage trucks at 650. The fire vehicles at 105. That will draw the balance down pretty well.
So they were addressed altogether,
Yeah.
Joe, this morning, and then.
Was that still leaving us at the 900,000, or Or was that at a much lower figure?
That's gonna take us down probably somewhere around $100,000.
Okay, then that one, okay. So Rick, what about, what if we did this more in stages? What are the consequences rather than doing it all at once?
Well, actually, Mr. R, this may help and it may not help. Those garbage trucks, they'll have a 9 to 10 to 11 month build time. It'll be nearly a year before we even receive those and sign an invoice. The two loader trucks are going to be about a 6 to 7 month build time.
So you'll have adequate time in
And that-
December when you do your mid-year to see their renewal, right? Is that, John? If there's a problem?
We can take care of this and address things in the winter, early spring.
I guess my question, Ricky, is that what happens if we don't buy these? What are the consequences?
I'll be honest with you. Be honest with you, Mr. R, we'll continue to have those trucks on the road that are continuing to break lines and oil across the streets and breakdowns. It's just a part of that fleet is really old. You and the rest of this council has done a good job of putting these new trucks back into the fleet. But we've been trying to recover for nearly 15 years of not buying hardly any, and so it's going to take a while. So we've got some 06s. These two garbage trucks will be replacing 06 models. That's 14 years old. And the build time's what's killing us. If we could get a 5 or 6 month build time, it'd be different. But when it's taking nearly a year, we're always a year behind. If you prove them this year, we're still a year behind by the time next year gets here.
And not to add the liability situation, Ricky, we've had tires to roll off some of these trucks and things of that nature that have hit other cars and things happen like that. So we have to, this is basically a protective measure not only for our employees, but our citizens, and they're breaking down every day. So that's where we're at.
One of the reasons, we have the bottoms of these trucks rotting out, and we just keep repairing them, and that's why both the mayor and some of you get calls about the garbage, as they put it, juice, running out on the streets, and that's the reason the bottom of these trucks have rotted out over a 16-year period.
Well, it is a constant source of complaints. Yes, it is.
Council President Billy, this is Herman. I've looked at the resolutions that are actually on the agenda, and the language in them are correct on all four of these. Now, one of them's not on here, but the language talks about 3 of them are unassigned fund balance, and the other one is the alley fund. So the actual resolutions that are on the agenda are correct.
They're just
That would be correct.
not coming out of landfill budget. That is incorrect.
No, absolutely not.
No, none of these mention landfill.
Actually, ours does, but.
I think the system.
Well, I'm talking about the one, I'm looking at the one that's on the actual website, and we've got one more that we approved today, and it just didn't get on this agenda, so, but Ricky is correct, there are 2 max, yes.
So that is where the other is. Go ahead.
Right.
I think the system
Yeah.
associates Ricky's name with landfills.
I understand. I just wanted to make sure that we made that distinction, because it is a different fund. Any other questions?
That's correct.
Alrighty. Ordinances, first reading, ordinance number 204424, authorizing the insurance of a $5 million revolving line of credit for the Municipal Utilities Board. Yes, ma'am.
Is that going to October the 5th?
She'll tell us. Hello, good to have you this evening.
Thank you. My name is Lisa Terry. I'm with Decatur Utilities. I'm the finance supervisor. We're requesting a renewal of our $5 million line of credit. It would be for 2 years. And The rate would be a tax-free variable rate equivalent to Wall Street Journal Prime minus 1%.
Questions? Still, Mr. Jackson?
No, ma'am.
I think it's going to be in September.
Oh, there we go.
You just have to,
John, does this show on our books? Or does it show on theirs?
Stacy, on this being voted on.
Okay.
21st, okay, September 21st.
That's right, it's 21.
Thank you so much for being here, appreciate it.
Thank you.
Ordinance 2044-25, declare surplus and sale of 208 Church Street. Suzanne? Northwest.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is a regular purchase at full price, and it's to expand the St. Paul's Spiritual Church.
Questions?
No, that's kind of, well, yeah, it's a good deal. It's a good deal because it actually satisfies a lot of problems that we have with that house. So it's a good deal.
Or have we had the property appraised?
To my knowledge, I think everything is taken care of as far as that goes. Whenever Alan called me this
Selling
morning.
the property for what it's appraised for.
Yes, it's for the, full price.
Okay.
By any chance, this is maybe Alan question, was this on the original list when we had our realtor take some of our properties and try to sell? Was this on that?
I'm not sure about
Okay,
that.
I can ask him when he gets back. Thank you, Debbie. Any other questions from council? Thank you, Suzanne. Anything from council? Please say, Mr. Jackson?
No, ma'am.
I'm good, thank you.
Any of our directors? Guess that's a no. Mayor?
No, thank you.
All right. Thanks for being here, we appreciate it.